Attraction is often misunderstood because it is taught through comfort, reassurance, and performance. Most men are trained to believe that desire is something you earn by explaining yourself, accommodating endlessly, or proving emotional availability. This belief does not create attraction. It creates compliance. And compliance is not respected by nature. It is tolerated, then discarded. The uncomfortable truth is that attraction does not reward what begs to be kept. It responds to what is already moving forward without permission. This is not cruelty. It is selection. Nature has never prioritized fairness. It prioritizes direction, momentum, and self-containment. What chases reveals need. What stands anchored in its own trajectory signals value. This is where Machiavelli's relevance begins. Not in manipulation, but in understanding power as it actually functions rather than how we wish it did. Attraction is a form of power exchange. One side observes, evaluates, and decides whether proximity enhances or diminishes their own position. The man who understands this stops performing for approval and starts organizing his life around a mission that does not require validation. The first law is simple but difficult to accept. The moment you make someone else the center of your emotional gravity, you lose leverage. Not because they become evil or manipulative, but because you have inverted the natural order. You have communicated, without words, that your direction depends on their response. Attraction withers in that environment because desire needs asymmetry. It needs movement towards something, not someone clinging to it.
This is why prioritizing your mission is not a motivational slogan. It is structural. A mission gives your life weight, independent of who is watching. It creates constraints, schedules, and sacrifices that shape your behavior automatically. When a man has a real mission, his time becomes scarce. His attention becomes selective. His emotional bandwidth narrows. These are not tactics. They are byproducts. And those byproducts are what create attraction. Nature does not reward availability without cost. When you are always present, always responsive, always ready to explain or reassure, you remove tension. And tension is the raw material of desire. Not anxiety, not fear. Tension between presence and absence, between interest and restraint. When everything is given freely, nothing is felt deeply. Many men misinterpret this and swing to the opposite extreme, trying to manufacture distance or play games. This fails because it is still reactive. It is still centered on the other person's perception. True scarcity is not created by withholding. It is created by being occupied. There is a difference. One is artificial, the other is structural. A man on a mission does not need to announce that he is busy. His calendar does it for him. He does not need to assert boundaries loudly. His priorities enforce them quietly. When something conflicts with his trajectory, he does not debate it emotionally. He declines, calmly, without justification. This is not dominance. It is alignment. This leads to the second law. Never negotiate attraction. The moment you argue for your value, you confirm that it is not self-evident. Explanation signals insecurity, even when the words sound confident. Attraction responds to coherence, not persuasion. When who you are, how you move, and what you prioritize all point in the same direction, nothing needs to be sold. This is also why emotional transparency, when offered prematurely or excessively, weakens attraction. Vulnerability is not a currency you spend up front. It is an exchange that happens after trust and polarity are established. When you expose too much too soon, you collapse mystery and flatten tension. You become predictable. Predictability feels safe, but it does not feel magnetic. Machiavelli understood that power dissolves when it seeks permission. The same applies here. When you ask to be chosen,
you frame yourself as an option. When you move as if you are already chosen by your own standards, others respond differently. Not always positively, but consistently. And consistency is more important than approval. Another law emerges here. Attraction grows in the presence of standards, not demands. Standards are quiet filters. They are not speeches. They are decisions you enforce through behavior. When someone violates them, you do not punish. You withdraw investment. This withdrawal is not emotional. It is logistical. Attention follows alignment. When alignment breaks, attention moves elsewhere. Most men fear this because they confuse withdrawal with loss. In reality, it is clarity. When you stay invested in situations that undermine your direction, you teach others that your mission is negotiable. When you step back without drama, you communicate that your path matters more than comfort. This does not guarantee attraction from everyone. It guarantees respect from yourself. Attraction follows that more often than people are willing to admit. The final law in this part is understanding that being the prize is not a performance. It is an outcome. You do not declare yourself valuable. You build a life that would be expensive to abandon. A body trained under discipline. A mind sharpened by solitude. A schedule shaped by long-term objectives. When these elements are in place, you stop fearing loss, because your center does not live in another person. Nature respects momentum. It respects direction. It respects self-containment. What begs to be kept reveals fear of loss. What moves forward regardless reveals abundance. This is not about women specifically. It is about attraction as a universal principle of selection. By the end of this part, the shift should be clear. Attraction is not something you chase or negotiate. It is something that orients itself around men who are already oriented toward something larger than being chosen. In the next part, we will examine how emotional restraint, silence, and selective investment amplify attraction without games, and why indifference is not the same as detachment when your mission is real. Once a man commits to a mission that is real rather than performative, his internal posture begins to change. He no longer scans every interaction for approval or rejection. He evaluates alignment. This subtle shift is what most people feel but cannot name. It is not arrogance, it is orientation. And orientation is deeply attractive because it signals that your life is already in motion. The second layer of attraction is emotional restraint. This is often confused with emotional suppression, but they are not the same. Suppression is fear-driven. Restraint is choice. A restrained man feels fully, but he does not leak. He does not outsource emotional regulation to others. He does not require immediate validation to stabilize his mood. This creates a sense of depth and unpredictability that draws attention without effort. Most men sabotage attraction by over-communicating their inner state. They narrate feelings in real time. They explain intentions before they are tested. They preemptively reassure to avoid discomfort. All of this collapses polarity. When everything is visible, nothing is compelling. Silence, when grounded in self-control, restores balance. Silence is not absence, it is containment. It allows others to project, wonder, and engage without being led by the hand. Machiavelli understood that power is often maintained not by action, but by selective inaction. In attraction, the same rule applies. You do not need to fill every pause. You do not need to resolve every ambiguity. Tension resolves itself when you do not rush to kill it. Another law emerges here. Never chase clarity at the cost of leverage. Many men seek constant reassurance about where they stand. They ask questions that force definition too early. They push for labels, certainty, or emotional guarantees. This communicates insecurity and impatience. Attraction thrives in an environment where discovery unfolds naturally, not where outcomes are forced. When you allow things to develop without pressure, you signal confidence in your own value. You are not afraid of losing what is not aligned. You are not trying to lock something down to feel safe. This calm openness is often misread as detachment, but it is not. It is grounded interest without dependency.
This is where selective investment becomes critical. Investment is not measured by words or attention alone. It is measured by what you prioritize. When you invest heavily before alignment is proven, you teach others that your resources are cheap. When you invest gradually, in proportion to reciprocity, you communicate discernment. Discernment is attractive because it implies standards. Standards imply self-respect. Self-respect changes how others treat you without you ever demanding it. This is the quiet hierarchy Machiavelli observed. Those who give indiscriminately lose value. Those who give conditionally shape outcomes. Another uncomfortable truth is that attraction often grows when you are willing to walk away internally before you ever have to externally. This does not mean being aloof or indifferent. It means being prepared to choose your mission over emotional comfort. When someone senses that you would not sacrifice your direction to keep them, the dynamic changes. You are no longer auditioning. You are evaluating. This evaluation does not need to be spoken. It is felt through behavior. You do not rearrange your life impulsively. You do not abandon routines to accommodate chaos. You remain consistent. Consistency creates safety, but it also creates intrigue. People are drawn to what feels solid, yet self-directed. Many men worry that this approach will make them seem cold or unavailable. In reality, it filters. Those who require constant reassurance will drift away. Those who value depth and stability will lean in. Attraction is not about appealing to everyone. It is about resonating with the right nervous systems. There is also a biological layer at play. Calm, regulated presence signals capacity. It suggests that you can handle pressure without collapse. This is deeply attractive on a primal level, regardless of modern narratives. Emotional volatility reads as risk. Emotional steadiness reads as protection, not domination. Protection through coherence. This is why reactive behavior destroys attraction faster than rejection ever could. When you overreact to perceived slights, delays, or ambiguity, you reveal fragility. When you respond calmly or not at all, you demonstrate that your internal state is not easily disturbed. This does not mean tolerating disrespect. It means addressing it through boundaries rather than emotion. Boundaries are the final reinforcement of attraction in this phase. Boundaries do not need speeches. They are enforced through action. When something crosses a line, you reduce access. You do not argue. You do not threaten. You adjust your behavior and move forward. This quiet enforcement is far more effective than confrontation. By now, the pattern should be clear. Attraction grows around men who are centered, restrained, and oriented towards something beyond being desired. This is not a trick. It is a byproduct of structure. When your life has direction, attraction finds its place naturally. In the next part, we will explore how indifference differs from detachment, why emotional economy matters more than intensity, and how to maintain attraction over time without slipping into need, control, or complacency. There is a critical distinction that determines whether attraction deepens or quietly dies. The difference between indifference and detachment. Indifference is emptiness. Detachment is sovereignty. One repels connection. The other invites it without surrendering control. Most men confuse the two,
and either smother attraction with need or suffocate it with coldness. Detachment means you care, but you are not governed. Your emotional investment exists, but it does not override your standards, your schedule, or your mission. You can enjoy connection without clinging to outcome. This creates a paradoxical effect. The less you need attraction to validate you, the more attractive you become. Attraction weakens when emotions are spent inefficiently. This is the principle of emotional economy. Every interaction has a cost. Attention costs time. Emotion costs energy. Availability costs optionality. When you overspend early, you devalue yourself later. When you spend deliberately, you maintain leverage without ever appearing strategic. Intensity is often mistaken for depth, but intensity without structure burns out quickly. It creates emotional highs followed by dependency or collapse. Sustainable attraction is built on rhythm, not spikes. Presence followed by absence. Engagement followed by focus elsewhere. This rhythm allows desire to breathe. When everything is constant, nothing is anticipated. This is why Machiavelli warned against exhausting one's influence too quickly. Power fades when it is overused. The same applies to attention. When you are always present, your presence becomes background noise. When you are selectively present, it gains weight. Another law becomes apparent here. Never reward inconsistency with increased investment. Many men respond to mixed signals by giving more effort, more reassurance, more availability. This trains others to withdraw to gain leverage. Instead, consistency should be met with consistency. Withdrawal should be met with space. This is not punishment, it is alignment. Alignment is the quiet regulator of attraction. When behavior matches behavior, tension stabilizes. When imbalance appears, space restores it. You do not need to call this out verbally. You simply adjust. People learn how to treat you by how you respond to their actions, not by what you say about them. Detachment also protects you from another trap: idealization. Attraction often begins with projection. Someone sees what they want to see. If you lean into that projection too eagerly, you lose yourself inside it. Detachment allows projection to fade naturally, as reality replaces fantasy. If attraction survives this transition, it becomes real. If it does not, nothing of value was lost. This requires patience. Patience is rare, and rarity itself is attractive. When you do not rush emotional milestones, you signal abundance of time and options. You are not racing towards certainty. You are observing compatibility. This calm observation creates safety without dependency. A man who can sit in uncertainty without anxiety holds enormous psychological power. Not because he withholds affection, but because his self-worth does not hinge on immediate outcomes. This steadiness allows attraction to grow organically, rather than being forced into premature definition. Another essential principle is refusing to rescue emotional volatility. When someone brings chaos, insecurity, or unresolved turmoil into your orbit, your instinct may be to stabilize it. This instinct is noble, but misplaced early on. When you rescue instability, you become its container. Attraction shifts into reliance. Respect erodes. Detachment means allowing others to manage their internal world while you manage your own. This does not mean being unkind. It means being selective. You can listen without fixing. You can empathize without absorbing. This balance preserves polarity. You remain grounded while others feel held by your presence, not drained by it. As attraction matures, subtle tests appear. Small boundary pushes, minor demands on time or attention, emotional probes. These are not always conscious. They are attempts to understand your structure. If you collapse here, attraction reorients around control. If you hold steady, it reorients around respect.
Holding steady does not require explanation. It requires congruence. Your actions match your values. Your schedule reflects your priorities. Your responses remain measured. Over time, this creates a sense of inevitability. You are who you are, and you are not moved easily. This is where being the prize becomes less about perception and more about reality. Your life is full. Your direction is clear. Attraction becomes a complement, not a requirement. When someone joins your path, they add to it. When they do not, you continue forward unchanged. The danger at this stage is complacency. Some men mistake detachment for disengagement and stop investing altogether. Attraction still requires presence. It still requires curiosity and care. The difference is that these are offered freely, not anxiously. Chosen, not compelled. By the end of this part, the pattern should be unmistakable. Attraction thrives when you are emotionally economical, rhythmically present, and internally sovereign. It fades when you chase certainty, overspend attention, or abandon your mission for comfort. In the final part, we will examine how to sustain attraction long-term without slipping into control or indifference, how to integrate intimacy without losing polarity, and how self-mastery becomes the ultimate stabilizer of desire over time. Long-term attraction is not sustained by tactics, it is sustained by trajectory. When a man's life continues to expand, refine, and deepen, attraction does not need to be maintained, it is renewed. The mistake many men make is treating attraction as something that must be protected rather than something that must be lived alongside purpose. Protection leads to anxiety. Purpose leads to gravity. As intimacy grows, the pressure to soften boundaries increases. Familiarity invites comfort, and comfort tempts stagnation. This is where many men lose the polarity they worked to build. They begin to over-prioritize harmony. They compromise routines. They abandon solitude. Slowly, the center of gravity shifts from mission to relationship. Attraction does not vanish instantly. It erodes quietly. The law here is simple. Never let intimacy replace direction. Intimacy should move with your life, not redirect it. When your path bends to accommodate someone else's comfort, you communicate that your mission is conditional. Nature does not reward conditional direction. It respects continuity. This does not mean neglecting connection. It means integrating it without distortion. You make space for intimacy, but you do not restructure your identity around it. Your habits remain. Your standards remain. Your rhythm remains. This consistency allows intimacy to deepen without consuming the foundation it rests on. Another crucial element of long-term attraction is maintaining internal discipline. Discipline is often associated with effort, but its real function is containment. It keeps your energy organized. It prevents emotional spillage. It preserves self-respect even when circumstances fluctuate. A disciplined man does not need constant external stimulation because his internal structure is stable. This stability creates trust. Not the fragile trust built on promises, but the deep trust built on predictability of character. When someone knows that you will not abandon yourself under pressure, they relax into your presence. Attraction becomes safer without becoming dull. There is also a paradox to understand. The more secure attraction becomes, the less you should speak about it. Reassurance has diminishing returns. Early reassurance reduces anxiety. Excessive reassurance later signals fear of loss. Silence, paired with consistent behavior, communicates confidence more effectively than words ever could. Machiavelli warned against exhausting one's authority through overexposure. The same applies to emotional expression.
You do not need to articulate every feeling. You do not need to process everything out loud. Some experiences gain power by being lived rather than narrated. This is especially important during conflict. Long-term attraction does not require avoiding conflict. It requires handling it without emotional collapse. When disagreements arise, you remain grounded. You listen without conceding your frame. You respond without defensiveness. You do not escalate to win. You de-escalate to preserve coherence. Winning arguments destroys attraction. Maintaining composure preserves it. Another subtle principle is allowing space for absence, even in closeness. Togetherness does not require constant proximity. Time apart refreshes polarity. Solitude restores perspective. When you return, presence feels chosen rather than habitual. This keeps attraction alive without artificial distance. At this stage, the concept of being the prize becomes internal rather than performative. You no longer measure yourself through reaction or response. You measure yourself through alignment. Are you still living in accordance with your values? Is your mission still progressing? Are you still growing rather than coasting? These questions regulate attraction more effectively than any external feedback. The final danger is resentment. Resentment builds when men sacrifice direction for harmony and then blame others for the loss. Avoid this by never trading your path for comfort. You can compromise logistics. You cannot compromise trajectory. When you protect this distinction, resentment has no soil to grow in. Attraction that endures is quiet. It does not need constant stimulation. It does not rely on fear of loss. It rests on mutual respect for autonomy. Two complete lives choosing alignment rather than one orbiting the other. This is the ultimate Machiavellian lesson applied correctly. Power is not about control over others. It is about command over self. When you master your direction, your discipline, and your emotional economy, attraction becomes a natural consequence rather than a pursuit. Nature does not respect what begs to be kept. It responds to what continues forward regardless. When your life has momentum, attraction keeps pace. When it stops, nothing can hold it. This is not a strategy. It is a standard.